right, and we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
Together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename, so we've got that going for us too.
We will be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because it's our show.
That's true. I can't argue with that.
Today is our 55th episode. 5-5.
What exciting thing is happening this week?
Unfortunately, every exciting thing happened last week.
Everything? There haven't been any annoying recurring server issues that have caused you to lose sleep at night?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, there's that.
And all of those bugs with the seasons quests?
Well, aren't you just a ray of sunshine today?
I am a ray of sunshine, bright, beaming, and also I cause cancer.
Ooh, okay. As always, we are here to... It's a little bit too far. As always, we are here to answer your development and design questions about Idle Champions.
If you don't ask any questions, however, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of The Avengers.
Yes, how exciting. All of our heroes together at last, and Hawkeye's there too.
Ooh, shots fired.
You know, I'm sure he's a perfectly pleasant hero. He's just a little outclassed.
Uh-huh. And what about Black Widow?
Oh, I'm not throwing any shade at Black Widow. She'd destroy me.
Okay, then. Well. Anyway, as always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we did not get to, and we will answer some of those while we are waiting for new questions to come in. And of course, before we do that, I have updates from items that we flagged to get looked at the dev team. So without any further stalling for time, we'll get started with those. Different doc. Haha. Okay. So I have one item here that got crossed off the list from the dev items, which was, or from this stream's items, which was the adding shuffle to the jukebox. It is my understanding that is in and out. Probably. If it's not out, it'll be out shortly. But I did get a very long list of items that Peter handed to me today that were items that were fixed, and I don't think a lot of these were in the ongoing list, so I still have a fairly large ongoing list. But let's see, what do we have here? We've got the Devourer looks cooler now. I think that says, we should say way, it says was, but anyway, apparently the Devourer looks a lot cooler now. I have not seen it for myself, so I'm going to take Peter's word on that. The changes to Artemis and Archon so that they now no longer show the same value for incoming and bulked up or other observed abilities like Agile Allies. They fixed a bug that was preventing Kulik's ultimate from increasing the Calm Before the Storm achievement. They fixed Omen's contractual obligations not being buffed by Narak. They fixed tracking the use of potions or scrolls for seasons. They fixed relay race not blocking champions. They fixed Modron resets for seasons. They fixed tracking of ultimate usage during offline progress for seasons. They fixed exceptions in the Pirate's Night variant. Shop 3 item names are now were displaying incorrectly after making a purchase. That is now fixed. They fixed a recent purchase for familiar skins showing up twice. They fixed incoming effect description amounts when being modified by effects like Observe, Usurp, and Socialite. Oh man, this is a long list. They fixed tracking champions formation when escorts are in the formation for seasons, and they fixed a situation in which Dobbs' ultimate could cause errors. Thanks. So I know Peter was pleased to give me a long list of fixes, because often when I ask him what we got updated this week, it's a short list because we've been working on features. So I know fixes have been more of a priority in the last couple of weeks. We do still have the same ongoing items from last week, including having the journal scroll with keyboard keys, doing recall for familiar, better cycling between champions when you're switching champions, swapping champions on console, a slider for using multiple scrolls and trials, indicator for unread items in the changelog, an icon to indicate the background party is no longer updating properly, a pass to make sure that escape properly closes all menus and dialogues. I need to bug Justin about the missing note on the strong core. Justin, why is it still missing?
I haven't found it yet.
Okay. Saving feats with formation, and we are still working on getting those colorblind updates for the cards. Now, with all of that out of the way, I think we can get into some questions left over from the last show, starting with Question here from Tormunda. That wasn't so bad. If you're going to use the seasons they ask if you're going to use the seasons as a way to rework old champions, what about champions that don't have affiliations?
Yes. So the first season, we did the Heroes of Aerois. It doesn't necessarily mean that every season is going to be focused on an affiliation. We have looked at, we're looking at season 2 right now and what we're going to have in there. It looks like it's probably going to be another affiliation just because it's how the cards kind of fell on that one. But we are planning on doing more of a potpourri season at some point that has more champions that aren't part of affiliations and just need some love. But we always want to make sure that the season champions kind of work well either together or on their own, so that there's a compelling reason to play the season and get the equipment and levels and skins for them. So we will definitely most likely do some seasons for those non-affiliation champions.
Okay. Next question here is from R Green Paradox. If you have background or offline parties running, will they complete daily, weekly milestone quests?
This is something we actually spent a decent amount of time testing. We mentioned last week that we've now got a dedicated testing department made up of one person. But one of the things that they spent a lot of time on was making sure that those either worked or we were at least aware of the ones that didn't work. And so I think we managed to get most of them working in the background. Though I think I've seen some or heard some reports of tickets where they're not working. Not all of them are working perfectly. So we will continue to try and to nail those down and get those all working in background. And that's probably something that as we iterate through the seasons, as we have more seasons, we'll have a little bit of time to look at the types of quests that aren't working in the background or offline and fix them as we go. So that is definitely something that is a priority for them to definitely work in the background.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that occurs to me when we talk about this, of course, is that we do have the new offline progress version 2 that is being tested right now by a handful of people in the Discord. And we'll be opening that up slowly over the next couple of weeks until we've sort of comfortable that everything there is working. But I'm a little bit worried that because those are distinct systems, we may end up fixing a bunch of the background offline party stuff, and then when we transition over, that we may end up having to refix some of those. But I know that I've already scheduled some of Nathaniel's time to look at making sure that the new progress, the new offline progress, works on all of the season's offline quests as well as the existing one. So hopefully that'll be a painless transition. But it does occur to me and raise it as a point now that we might be in a situation where some of those things get corrected and then have to get corrected again, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. The next question is from Monkey House, who asks, for the new 3D animated intro/teaser, can you explain why you went with that art style instead of the house style that's used in the game?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And off the top of my head, I can't recall the exact reasoning beyond that. Adam, our art director, and Michelle, who's been working on that, had been quite interested in exploring new art styles, specifically 3D, because 3D is something that as a studio we don't have a whole lot of experience in and would like to gain more experience with. And so they took this as an opportunity to sort of branch out and do something new. Beyond that, I think they didn't, based on the design that they put together for that, they didn't think they could achieve the same sort of look and feel is what they were looking to achieve. They weren't going to be able to achieve the same fidelity by doing it by hand. I don't know, Justin, do you remember any additional bits of that discussion?
I remember we looked at a bunch of art styles, and we were trying for a 3D art style, and 3D doesn't really work all that well with the kind of 2D style that we have. Like, it's hard to replicate that style with 3D models. So I think that we just wanted to try and go a different direction and kind of explore what our kind of 3D stuff could look like.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that certainly the options that were looked at did range from being quite simple to being sort of overly complex. And one of the reasons we fell on the style that we did fall on was just as a balance that kind of got the look and feel that they thought they could achieve without spending an inordinate amount of time working on the little details. But yeah, it's definitely a departure. But that said, I do like the way it turned out. I think it looks quite good. So
yeah.
Okay, next question here is from SailNet. This question is, most of the game seems to be based around limiting champion options through patron or variant restrictions. Is there a concern that Hero of Aerois champs will be less useful overall, as a significant portion or power is now tied to using the entire affiliation together?
Yeah, so this is definitely a question that we've seen, and actually, I noticed here that Emote also asked a very similar question to this week as one of the first few questions here. Basically, that for most patrons, you can't use all of the Aerois champions together. And really, it's not, I mean, it's something that we definitely considered when we're putting them together. And there is, a portion of their power, and certainly a scaling portion of their power, that works best when all 5 of them are together. But they still do work together when there's less of them. And sort of our philosophy when it comes to patrons, for the most part, is, patrons are intended to be a place where you have to switch up your formation. And there's no one-size-fits-all formation that you can use in every single patron that just works and blasts you through to area 1000. So it's actually intentional that only bits and pieces of most affiliations can work together in patrons. Obviously, there are some exceptions to this, like if you've got Nahara, you can bring all of the BDS champions into Strahd patron challenges, but those are generally going to be the exception rather than the rule moving forward.
Okay. On to questions from this week. First question of the day is from Emote. And the question is, in a previous Dev Insights, you said Xerxes would be an 11-slot formation, but it has an escort in one of the slots. So for all intents and purposes, it's a 10-slot formation. Are you planning for future adventures there to not have Squidly there to make it a truly 11-slot formation?
So I may have been slightly trolling when I said it was going to be, because it is an 11-slot formation. I thought I was really funny, but yeah. So it is still a 10-slot form, effectively a 10-slot formation. We may move the escort around, so it's not always in that center one. But kind of the idea was we wanted to kind of experiment with a formation that kind of had 2 separate sides. And we wanted those sides to be kind of the same size and the same sort of shape. But in order to have them to not confuse a lot of the formation abilities that kind of trace through slots one at a time, we couldn't have them be completely separated. So we put the extra slot there with the escort in it, just so that things like, adjacent or furthest, or well, really just the furthest, or 2 slots away, stuff like that wouldn't necessarily get confused. So yes, the Xerxes formation is intended to just be 10-slot, but there's an escort there that it will always be there somewhere.
All right. The next question here, actually, this one is question 2, Justin. I see it's not highlighted, but I'm curious if you know what they might be asking about here.
I don't know what they're asking. That's why I didn't highlight it.
Okay. So there's a question here, and from Jamick Unyielding, and if you're still in the chat, if you want to do a follow-up. The question, we're looking at this and wondering, so the question is, could we eventually see an option to toggle champion-specific UI? It can be very hard to see certain characters and skins.
I wonder if they mean overlays. So like, when you've got Omen in your formation and he just drops huge rings all over everyone, if that could be something.
Yeah, I'm not sure which specific UI you're referring to. So I guess if you could follow up with that, we might be able to provide a little more detail on that one. Mm-hmm. Next question then here is from Winterborn2. Hashtag Jeremy for familiar when. Best Tiger Buddy when.
Yes, I heard about this scene, and I know that the team is aware of the hashtag, aware of the fact that people were very excited about Jeremy, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it made its way. Hashtag Jeremy Clawford. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point a familiar like that made its way out, but I don't know any of the details.
Okay. So yeah, just checking the chat, Justin, we've got
Desmond's Moon or Man's Meter there. Yeah, so this is champion overlay stuff. That's an interesting question about whether we would kind of allow you to toggle that off. It's one of those things that we've kind of talked about a lot on the show where we are hesitant sometimes to give certain customization options, really because of an issue that happened in a game that we made a long time ago called Bushwhacker 2, where we created a trinket called the One Ring. This was right around the time when Lord of the Rings was super popular. And we made this trinket, and basically you got it, and if you equipped it, your character would disappear. And it was great, and people were like, that's so funny. It didn't really do anything. It didn't have any power in the game. It was just a visual effect. But the thing that did happen is people would equip it, and then they'd close the game, and then later on they'd open up the game, and their character would be gone, and they'd open a ticket and be like, oh my God, something's wrong. My character's disappeared, like the game's not working right. And so that's one of those things that kind of taught us like to be very careful about options we give to players that could turn off useful information. Not saying we wouldn't do this or we don't do this anymore, but definitely this kind of thing where players could toggle off overlays, it could lead to people doing that and then forgetting they've done it, and then writing in desperation of like, my game's broken, it's not working. And that's the kind of stuff that we want to try to avoid.
Yeah, we're definitely cautious with that.
Yeah.
Wow, shots fired at Lord of the Rings. Was popular.
Well,
Still
there's
popular.
There's a lot. The Lord of the Rings movies came out in the early 2000s. So there's a lot of folks these days who maybe weren't around back then, who weren't watching them in theaters. Theaters were these things you went to with a whole bunch of people to watch movies that existed before the pandemic. Anyway, let's move on to some questions.
AMC still exists, as far as I know. Yeah.
Only as a meme stock.
Next question is from Emote. Was it intentional for Dobbs' gold find item to be generic gold find rather than buffing his gold find ability? Seems like an odd choice.
Yeah, I don't remember the specifics on this, but my guess is it probably was. And I don't have the design up here in front of me. Dob would have been one we did quite a while ago, because we're getting quite far ahead on our champion designs these days. But my guess is it most likely was intentional. I'm not sure if it was because of how the gold find ability buffs or something like that. But it should have a fairly similar effect to if it did buff his gold find ability, unless it was some sort of choice around stacking.
Okay. Next question from Connellian. How do Lucius's new Arcane Chromat Acid and Cold abilities scale with gear? I'm assuming it's a post-stack multiplier for both, but currently the outgoing effects description only displays the base 400% damage and doesn't include the bonus from level up upgrades and his slot 3 and 4 gear.
Yeah, that is a little bit concerning that the outgoing effects don't display the bonus. That makes me think there might be a bug there. The intention is that they apply to the post-stack value, that buffs apply to the post-stack value. This could be another kind of issue that we had with the Keelik challenge earlier, where it was referring to the wrong upgrade ID because of the way that we sandboxed the Aerois champions when we were testing their new ability sets. So I will highlight this guy and I will get a dev to look at that. Because if that is true, if it's not actually applying those things, that can mean a fairly large portion of Lucius's power is missing. Which could account for the fact that folks are still saying he's kind of underpowered, because certainly in our testing, we found him to be quite a powerful champion, especially when used with the other Aerois champions. Okay. Let's see. Do you want to take the next question here, Dave?
Sure.
So this question is from Super Fluffy Kitty, and they say, the servers have been really unstable since the release of Seasons. What's going on, and is anything being done to remedy it?
Yes, we have had a few minor issues with the servers over the last week. Primarily, there's been a minor increase in load caused by seasons, of course. We did have a bit of downtime on was it Sunday morning?
It was Sunday morning,
yeah,
7 a.m.
It was awfully early. Because of the additional records that have been going in specifically for tracking some of the challenges had caused a problem. Obviously, that was something that we did get a remedy in for as soon as we were aware of it. Was exactly what we wanted to be doing Sunday morning, but of course, yeah. That said, we have been also watching sort of the load. I know Justin has been quite. Is looking at the load, looking down, frowning, looking at the load. I mean, obviously the name of the episode is reflective of that. We've been looking at a lot of the queries that have been going into the master server and seeing what we can do because we have been seeing spikes in load that have been causing some minor unresponsiveness intermittently. You know, probably about every half hour or so, sort of minor drops. So. We've been definitely keeping a close eye on all of that, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that stops, because it actually does make us quite nervous to have to keep looking at that. It's not something that we want to be blindsided by. So now that said, I think Justin, we did have sort of a minor breakthrough just before the stream. I think you asked for something to be removed. What was it?
Yeah, we had. It's just, there's one particular table that's giving us a lot of grief, and it's the one that tracks all of the code redemptions. And so we've just been trying to find ways to avoid touching that table, because every time we do, the servers go. And so there was a nice shim in place where for like a gym skin from like PAX like 2018 or something like that. And by getting rid of that shim, we managed to drop the load by half, which is ridiculous, but
yeah,
databases are annoying.
It is one of those things where sometimes you put in a fix or a piece of code that at a particular size doesn't have any impact at all, and then over time can sneak up on you. And the code redemption table is one of those tables that has, of course, over the last few years grown and grown and grown, because it's tracking all of the codes that we've assigned to players, codes that we've sent out in emails, codes that have been redeemed by players, and it doesn't have it hasn't had any of that data cleaned out, and that is something that we need to do, because it's millions and millions of records at this point, and so it's one of those ones that sneaks up on you. So I think the long story short there is that we gave away too much free stuff, and it took the servers down.
That's the lesson that we're going to learn from this. Less free stuff. No, that's not true. We're going to continue to give a lot of free stuff. We're just going to find a way to do it more efficiently. But yeah, just looking at the loads here, we have actually dropped the loads, even on the individual play servers, by at least half, just by that one little fix, which is crazy. But yeah.
Hopefully that solved the problem.
But the only problem with that fix is that anyone who redeemed the gym code in the first probably hour or so that it was out, but then has not logged into the game in the 4 years since then, will no longer automatically get gym applied to their account.
Yeah, so they maybe open a ticket about that. I think it's if they remember.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Next question here is also from Super Fluffy Kitty. This question is, when is Rosie getting her much-needed rework so she can claim her rightful throne as the #1 DPS? Or at least top 5. The community, or just me, in quotes, are desperate for her to be reworked.
Yeah, I believe I read a little, a rather large manifesto with regards to Rosie recently that got copied into the into our internal chat. And yes, Rosie was on the docket for season 3. I am not sure where they are right now. I think we might have had to bump them a little bit maybe, but we haven't actually finalized the season 3 docket yet, so they could be as soon as then. They might be a little bit later, but Rosie is definitely, like, she is on my list of champions I would like to revisit. We're actually doing some fun stuff with season 2 that we could pull forward into Rosie if we feel like it's successful in season 2. Yeah, I mean, I think there's some fun stuff. There's some fun stuff we could do with Rosie, and I would really like to do that at some point, because I mean, we were just talking about her internally the other day, and like we're huge fans of her animations and stuff. So we just want to get that in front of more people.
That's funny. Just in the comment in the chat about so season 2 has been settled. You're gonna give spoilers, but I don't know. We were talking about this just the other day. The seasons only being 10 weeks does not leave a lot of time between seasons to get everything designed and in.
Yeah, so. Season 2 design lock was actually a week and a half before season 1 went out, which makes it challenging for us to pivot based on player feedback. Luckily, we have a little bit more time past the design lock to actually do the implementation. So I think we have until the middle of October to get season 2's champion updates implemented. And then season 3, I think we have to have locked before we break for Christmas.
Yeah. So, not a lot of sound.
Not a lot of sound.
Not a lot of time. I'm speaking and reading at the same time. All right. Hopefully, actually, they can't hear Peter. I know in our rearrangement here, the meeting room is right on the other side of the streaming desk I've got here, and I can hear their meeting happening. So
if they're having a meeting over there, if they have a meeting happening over there, we can, and we need something fixed. You can just yell it really loudly, and then that'll just get out there and get fixed.
Okay, next question. This one is also from Super Fluffy Kitty. The question is, will Idle Champions get the Mega Silver Chest / Ultimate Silver Chest and Mega Jeweled Chest / Ultimate Jeweled Chest tech that Crusaders has? Given the newly previewed item tech level tech seen in the seasonal rewards, big silver chests could reward a fixed eye level to all evergreens and have fixed drops based on the average drop of silver chests. Now, before you get into answering if that might be a thing, could you explain what the mega chests were in Crusaders for people?
Yes, I can explain what they were. I probably won't get the exact amounts right, but basically a mega silver chest contained, it was like 100 silver chests worth of stuff, and the ultimate one contained like 1,000 silver chests worth of stuff, something like that. They were basically just a way to convert your thousands or tens of thousands of silver chests into less, so that you could just open it a lot faster and get sort of these fixed rewards instead of the system having to iterate over opening 50 chests at a time and do all that work to get the rewards or to calculate the rewards. So it was a way to save both players' time as well as to save our poor little servers from having to explode. So I guess the answer, okay. So Mega were 1,000 silvers. Sorry, my bad. And Ultimate was 20,000. People in Crusaders had a lot of chests. There are definitely some players like that in Idle Champions, but not quite as bad. But yeah, I think that down the road, I think we could potentially see something like that, just to try and cut down on the server load of opening chests. We could even kind of shortcut it and just have that as an opening option. Whereas if you choose to open 1,000 at a time or 20,000 at a time or whatever the values are, then we just give you fixed rewards instead of actually iterating over the chests and opening them all. So yeah, I could see doing something like this in the future. In an ideal world, we would have balanced the game better and not have had all of those chests kind of stack up like they do. But I think that's a bigger challenge than just kind of solving the issue of opening those all.
Okay, where were we? Next question here is from Orc Princess. And Orc Princess asks, what are your thoughts on a reroll button for free time gates? For example, if you don't like the 3 randoms, you could reroll one of them and try and get a better choice. This could be free or it could cost gems. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think we have talked about, or we did talk about when we were designing time gates, about the option to re-roll those the free time gates that we offer every weekend when we're not running an event. I don't quite remember where we came down on that. I don't know if you have any insight on that, Dave.
Yeah,
about what we were thinking back then.
I don't recall, but it's not something that to me seems like it is objectionable. It does seem like something that as the number of champions grows, that it becomes more and more useful. So
yeah, I could definitely see the option to even just re-roll once or something like that. Just re-roll all three of them once to try and get some better options. This is probably also a good time to plug the fact that while the Heroes of Aerois season is running, you can do the time gates for the Aerois champions for all 5 of them for half off. So they're only 3 time gate pieces right now instead of 6. So it's a good way to get some extra chests for those guys to try and complete that chest opening milestone, or just gear them up if you like kind of the direction that they've gone or that we've gone with the reworks. Hashtag plug.
Okay, next question from Nunknown_. I was wondering if there were plans to change how the map screen works so the Grand Tour map doesn't default to the new Vecna adventure. I'm still making my way through the old adventures and it's a bit annoying to have to scroll up every time. Well, this sounds familiar.
Yeah. No, that absolutely is super duper annoying, and absolutely is something that is
it's on the fix list, right?
Is on the list. I think you probably mentioned it at the beginning of the show, didn't we?
Did I? I don't think so.
Have that on
it's not on the list there. I thought this was something that we were already doing, but I didn't see it in the fix.
Yeah.
Let me just confirm.
Well, it's definitely something that if we have not already rolled out a fix for that, that is definitely something that we need to fix, because I find that very annoying, and when I find things annoying, they get fixed pronto. But yes, I absolutely know that is annoying.
Yeah, we're getting a little context here from Mars. Not fixed yet. Super annoying. Yep.
Mars also finds it annoying. I think we can all agree that it's very annoying.
Okay. Well,
do you want to answer one of these questions?
I could, okay. But
okay. Here we go. Here's the next question from Niskis, who asks, could we get a merchant where we can exchange potions of power, gold, health, fire breath, and speed between them? So swap potion types. Currently, we don't use most of them, and they just stockpile there with no real use. Thanks in advance.
Oh, see, here I thought I was getting off easy just getting to read things, but yeah, I personally quite like that idea. I think it would be nice to have some way of actually, I know we've talked about this before, but exchanging potion by types, like some way to multiply or combine them together, some number of smaller ones to make a larger one, etc. So the question being, merchant to actually exchange between the types, it's pretty similar. I think it wouldn't actually be too bad to come up with an exchange rate for those. It seems
some sort of system, yeah.
Nothing stands out there as like an insurmountable, like you wouldn't be able to exchange X for Y kind of thing. I think so. Yeah,
I think something like this is just a matter of finding the dev time to put something, a little bit of design time, and then the dev time to put something like that together. And currently, design time is focused on some other things,
like season 2 that was supposed to be locked.
No, we're having the kickoff on that next week. It's fine. And dev is most definitely a little bit backed up right now. But those are coming along. It looks like we are running a giveaway. Oh no, it just got deleted. Maybe it's getting copied down here. But if we're not running a giveaway, no, we are running a giveaway. Okay, so there's a giveaway happening. So this giveaway, if you've been here before, you know how it works. There will be a keyword that you will say that you will type into chat, and you'll be entered into a draw to win 42 chests of your choice. It can be any type of chest that we've released in the game, except for Glory of Bahamut chests. So, it could be gold chests, it could be silver chests, super fluffy kitty, it could be gold rosy chests. It could also be the new season quests if you wanted, the season Heroes of Aerois quests or chests. Any real chests. I would pick Modron component chests because I like to play the game with the pipes because it's fun. So that is now active. You just type the keyword seasons, and you will automatically be entered to win that. I guess it's not automatic if you have to type the word seasons, but anyway.
Yeah. I see earlier up in the chat before it went a little crazy there. The Neovid saying, wouldn't the potion exchanger be an alchemist? Yeah, it might be, but the way we label things, if we're in charge of naming it, it would be the potion exchanger.
Yes, we're not all that creative here.
All right. Oh, my chat's just ruined now. To the bottom. Okay. Next question here. Oh, yeah, this is a sad but true one from Gecko. Do the servers make an audible crying noise at 12 p.m. Pacific time?
12 p.m. Pacific time is definitely not the server's favorite time. And that is because, the thousands and thousands of players all make a nice little call to their respective play servers to get updated challenge data. And usually it doesn't last all that long, that little bump. And I'm hoping that by getting the load down in general, that we will actually be able to weather that storm a little bit better. There are some other kind of options we were thinking about to mitigate that, such as sort of pre-calculating tomorrow's daily quests and having those already on the client at around noon, so that it doesn't have to make a separate call. But we haven't really fully spec'd that out yet. So ideally, we can solve this just by making the servers run a little bit more pleasantly.
More pleasantly? Okay.
I just want to wake up in the morning and not immediately check my phone to see if everything has died.
Next question. This one is from Vladimir Nightroad. Is it possible to add a challenge swap for seasonal quests? I just unlocked trials after 1 year, but others.
Yeah, so this is a good question. This is definitely something we've seen a lot of players kind of asking about. And I think there's a little bit of confusion that will kind of get resolved as we go through the season. But the seasonal quests will sit there for the entire season, giving you the option to do them at any point during the season, during the 10 weeks of the season. So if you don't have trials unlocked right now, you've got 9 weeks at this point to go ahead and unlock it and do a run. And if you don't happen to finish it by the end, it's not that huge of a deal. There wouldn't really be anything to swap for with seasonal quests because everyone gets exactly the same set of seasonal quests. It's completely fixed. Unlike the daily quests, which everyone gets different daily quests based on their own on their account's abilities and unlocks. So yeah, we're not going to be adding any sort of swappability for seasonal quests, and there are definitely some seasonal quests that require a little bit more investment in the game. So it's possible that players would not be able to get those done by the end of the season. But we'd like to think that if you really go heads down and bash your way through the Descent into Avernus campaign, that you should be able to get it unlocked by then.
Yeah. All right. Next question from ByFido79. This season familiar. When will it be available to us that didn't get to buy it from the bug?
Yeah, this is a great question. It should be out fairly soon if it's not already out. I think we were pushing this as I was kind of coming into the stream, so I'm not 100% sure if it is all the way out yet, but the plan is definitely to have it out this week if it's not already out. It's going to go into, I believe, tier 10 of the free track, so you won't need a season pass to grab it. And I believe it will be the same price it was when it accidentally went out earlier. For folks who did manage to grab it during the bug, you will get to hold on to it. We're not going to take it away or anything like that. But for those of you who didn't, it will be there if you grind your way up to tier 10. And it should be there very soon.
Okay. So, the next question here, I was a little bit curious because I'm certainly not always 100% up to date on sort of changes that we've made, like to achievements. But this question here from the Great Big Slug. The Great Big Slug asks, with the added achievement legacy group, do you feel the game will start to make new players feel neglected or punished for not getting in on the ground floor? So my first question, Justin, is what is this achievement legacy group? Fill me in, and then we could talk about this.
Sure, yeah. So the legacy achievement group is for achievements that are no longer possible in the game, but were possible at one point. So a good example would be when we updated Nova just now. Nova's original achievement required you to collect a certain number of monster brains and hearts in order to get it. But with the Nova rework, Nova no longer collects monster brains or hearts, so it would not be possible to get that achievement. Instead, we replaced that achievement with one that you can get, and we moved the old one into the legacy group. Now, the achievements in the legacy group don't give any bonuses, so there's no power benefit to having them. They simply exist. The intention of those is so that players who got those achievements before can still point at them and have them and say, I did this. And for players who are unable to get those, then there's no, aside from it just not appearing there, there's no game power punishment for no longer being able to do that.
Right. Okay. So the legacy, or the achievement legacy group, is for allowing players to still have recognition that they achieved achievements that are no longer part of the game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that, so as for the rest of the question, which is, do you feel the game will start to make will this make the new players feel neglected or punished for not getting it on the ground floor? I think the two kind of important things there is that because they don't provide additional bonuses, certainly you're not going to feel punished for not getting playing earlier with that. And then I think as far as like not being able to get certain achievements because things have changed, it feels like that's in general sort of a fact of life for a lot of games like this. And so provided it's not, like half the achievements, as long as it's a small number, I don't personally think that's going to have a big impact on players. Maybe sort of the most diehard of achievement achievers might be feel a little sour about that. But in general, it's not something that seems to be a complaint that we see.
Yeah, I think we're going to be pretty careful about that to make sure that if we were to say do some sort of collection dialogue revamp in the future, that the kind of big progress bar for achievements would definitely not include the out of, wouldn't include the legacy achievements. So you'd always be able to fill that bar with currently available achievements. And the legacy achievements just kind of exist, like, as you say, as a, hey, look, I was playing, 6 or 7 years ago.
You still recognize
and got this thing that doesn't exist. Yeah.
And it is worth pointing out, we see sort of coming up a little bit in the chat here, the achievements that are in game and the achievements that are in platform like Steam, as well as our platforms like your console platforms like your Xbox, PlayStation, etc., are actually different achievements.
Yes.
And those ones are ones that are not. Those ones are not ones that we change or are putting in such a way that they would end up being taken away at any point.
Yeah.
And by those ones, I mean the ones that are on the platform, not the ones that are the specifically in-game ones. Okay, next question here from Tarji the Terrible. Now that Seasons concept is here, is there a possibility of any champion getting pulled out of retirement when their season comes around?
So I guess the idea of being pulled out of retirement, meaning that they go back into their event. Because certainly in season 1, we several of the champions from this season are from events that are no longer, or they're from events, but they're an earlier champion, so they don't pop up in their event anymore. Beyond just doing that, I don't think there's any plans to kind of shift around what champions are available in those quests or in those events. We'll continue to just move forward with the design that we've had of the last 3 years worth of champions in there. But as I say, we do make the season champions cheaper for the duration in time gates for the duration of the season. So there is a way, kind of, it's definitely a way to reinvigorate those champions and to give players an opportunity to really gear them up really well. So from that perspective, they are kind of out of retirement. But then they kind of go back in once the season ends.
Okay. And Mars is telling me it's Tarye, and I am pronouncing the terrible.
We still need to do that extra live stream where it's literally just you and I trying to pronounce players' names for an hour. Yeah. I was going to say, when I was, 2 weeks ago, when I was coming back from my my vacation, sitting in the airport listening to the whatever the
what do you call those people who are calling people before their flights to check in and get validate documents? And after hearing them attempt to call out people's names, I didn't feel so bad.
That's like the people at Starbucks putting the names on the cups, right? You just got to do it phonetically.
Okay, next question. This one is from Hunter Digi, and Hunter asks, the season's tier 11 says must own all items from previous tiers. Does that mean all the items you can buy, or does tier 11 require a season pass to buy anything from it?
Yeah, this is a great question. I believe the intention is that you can buy items from season or from tier 11, assuming you've bought all of the available items for you. So if you've bought the pass, then then you have to buy all of the items. Otherwise, you have to buy all of or just the free items or the non-pass items. So I'm not 100% sure that is working properly right now. I need to go and take a look at that code. Obviously, folks who have not purchased the pass and not purchased additional speed ups on that will not be at that point yet. But there's definitely there's an urgency for me to take a look at that before we get there.
Okay. Next question. This one is from ByFido79. Getting a weekly quest to do 20 patron chores the day after doing 12 of the with 2 patrons unlocked by me. Accessible 20 chores wouldn't be an idea not to put there. Sorry, I'm not. Do you follow
Wouldn't it be an idea to not put it there? Yeah. So basically, this is the season or the second week of seasonal quests dropped yesterday. One of those is to do 20 patron challenges, and obviously patron challenges come out on Monday, so a lot of people do those Monday, Tuesday. So the thing I would definitely point out here is that the seasonal quests are not weekly quests. They are released on a weekly basis, but as I said to an earlier answer, they don't go away. So if you don't finish one of them this week, it will still be there next week. And so, it's not ideal that they don't unlock on the same day. I think the servers appreciate the fact that they don't have to recalculate both patron challenges and seasonal challenges at the same time. There's no plans to change that. I think that it's perfectly fine that you can just wait until next Monday for your patron challenges to reset, and then just blast your way through that seasonal quest. And there will certainly be other seasonal quests that are a similar type, where there's a certain time that it's good to do it, and maybe you missed it this week, but we'll be able to do it next week. The other thing that I want to mention is this is actually a good example of one that's very similar to the trials one, where if you don't have a patron unlocked at the beginning of the season, this kind of points you in the direction of the patron system and says, hey, you should try to unlock the patron system and try out this cool part of the game. And similar to trials, where it's new players may not have a patron unlocked, but you've got from now until the end of the season to unlock one and do 2 weeks worth of patron challenges. So, yep.
Okay.
Let's see. Next question here is
before you move on, though, Justin, I just wanted to clarify: they're not weekly quests; they're
seasonal quests,
and we don't call them weekly quests.
We do not call them weekly quests. We call them seasonal quests. There is potentially a bit of confusion, is that they are labeled like by the week that they came out, but they are not. They are not weekly quests. They're specifically called out as seasonal quests.
Right. I see. So they're weekly quests, and they're seasonal quests. Yeah, I want to call them that too, and that's confusing. Yeah. They're labeled as week 1, week 2, week 3, etc., but they are seasonal, and they're for the whole season. They don't go away. So if you miss them, if you miss completing them on the week they're labeled, you still get to complete them. Yeah, afterwards.
And I think that's one of the things we could change for season 2, since it's definitely a point of confusion that we could potentially, remove or rework that kind of week label for them. Try and find some other way to label them so you know kind of when they came out. But
yeah, I mean, one thing that's worth noting is the moment the week switches over and the week one's still there, that question sort of answers itself. So it's a 1 week problem.
Yeah, but it's definitely something that we heard a lot of in the first week, and our hope is that for several of these kind of issues that players are feeling like the system has it as we kind of work through the first season, that it'll be more obvious how we kind of intend it to work.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so next question here. We are running up on time here, but I can certainly ask a few more here. This one's from GE Nemesis 13. Who says, if the season quests are working in the background / offline, is that why it takes the game forever to start after being shut down for a longer period of time? Too many calculations?
Yeah, so I don't think that's sort of the crux of the current problem that we're seeing with the some offline progress taking a while. Now, I do recognize your name, GE Nemesis. I did see that your account had been passed to Mark to have a quick look at for that, because I know he's working on the new system, and it should definitely not be taking a significant amount of time to load it when you bring the game up. That offline progress calculation should not be stalling out. I did see sort of the report that came in along with your account that it was taking, I think it said upwards of like 20 to 30 minutes without any progress. So that's definitely a bug. And with any luck, Mark can figure out what's happening there and get that fixed. But at this moment, I don't think it is related to sort of the offline progress for the seasonal quest portion. But once Mark digs into it a little bit more, we'll have an answer for that.
Cool. And yeah, it does look like the new familiar in the season track is now live. There is kind of one, well, there's not much of a caveat, but if you're in client version 4.7.1 and you purchase that, you will get it right away. If you're in an earlier client version, then you would have to restart your client after purchasing it in order to actually see it in your familiar list. And that's just because we didn't previously have support in the store for familiar purchases. But we will get that 4.7.1 out to all platforms, likely before folks get to tier 10 anyway. But yeah, I'm excited that is out. That was in response to some player feedback. So keep that feedback coming. We really appreciate it, and we are absolutely willing to make pivots based on reasonable, cool feedback.
But it has to be reasonable and it has to be cool.
Yeah, I'm setting the bar pretty high there.
Okay.
Let's see. Next question here is from Cast One Low Gaming, who asks, where can we see our purchase history?
So there isn't an explicit purchase history listed in the game. If you are looking, and I guess the question would be specifically if it's around premium purchases, like purchases made in with real currency in the store, or purchases that are made, other purchases. But anyway, the point just backing up, there's no purchase history in game. If you do want a purchase history, you can open a ticket, and Sean or Taylor can provide you with your purchase history.
Oh, Sean and Taylor are about to get a bunch of tickets. Let's see. A couple more questions I assume we can go through here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the answer to this one. I certainly don't, but we can address it. We can talk about it. Next question from Nanon_, who asks, are there any plans to give out more codes for skins or unlocks for the Aerois champions while the season is ongoing?
So as far as I know, this was something that we wanted to discuss further, but that we didn't have any solid plans at this very moment. Certainly, I had a tongue-in-cheek answer for this, which was that given that code table was so big, I think we were just going to have to veto giving out any more codes until that was solved.
No more codes.
Which I know is not the answer that people even want to hear me joke about.
With that said, you should, it's over here. You should redeem this code and get a free Electrum chest. Okay, continue.
Yep. Nope, that's all I've got on that, unless you've got anything more definitive.
Yeah, I mean, we had two codes. We had a code to unlock Nova, and we had a code that came out the Nova code came out to the emails. So if you're not signed up for our newsletter, make sure you do that. And then we had another code that was just more widely available for Lucius right at the beginning of the season that had Lucius and a skin. I don't know if the marketing team has any plans to release any more throughout the season. One of the things we're going to try and solve for kind of season 2 and season 3 is for players who are new and may not have all of the season champions, kind of a way to get those champions leading up to the season, so that everyone's kind of starting on equal footing with that regard. I don't think we'll really have a really elegant solution for that for season 2, because of the fact that we just have to lock that so quickly. Like, it basically already needs to be locked. But for season 3, I think we'll try and come up with some sort of interesting way of doing that.
Okay. Probably have time for 2 more questions here. The next question, contextually, this is in regard to the Modron core, that the missing piece that Justin has not yet located, as he said earlier. And so I think in context here, Justin wants to ask this question. To be nice to sort of explain what the actual concern is.
Sure.
But the question here is from SLM493, and he asks, Justin, I know the issues with the Modron core are difficult to change since it means some players may have to redo their layouts. Would you consider doing a poll that describes the situation in-game if possible, or through social platforms if not? I'm sure most players would be okay reworking their layouts to have their cores at full potential.
Yeah, so the issue with the core that is broken, it's a strong core, is that there is a node missing. So all cores are supposed to have 30 nodes. The strong core only has 29 nodes. It is missing a gold find node that should unlock at once you get the core to level 15, or should be available once you get the core to level 15. And it was, I guess, a data issue when we were putting the core in. Back in those days, putting in a new core was actually quite a bit of work. A lot of manual JSON entry, but it's much easier now. So we missed that node, and unfortunately, we missed that node in the worst way possible, which is we left the spot where that node was supposed to be as a blank spot that just unlocked it at level 15. And so it means that players have potentially placed pipes in that spot. So if we were to release an update to just put that node back where it was intended to be, then we could have some issues where there was already pipes laid in that node. We'd have to come up with some sort of solution to automatically grab those. It could potentially break people's nodes without them knowing what's going on, and result in a bunch of tickets. So we're still trying to consider kind of what our options are. I'm kind of leaning towards just putting it near where it's supposed to be, but not exactly where it's supposed to be. Rather than sort of forcing people to redo their cores or whatnot. On the other hand, it is just a gold bonus, not one of the more impactful bonuses that cores have. So we're also potentially considering just leaving it out and just saying like, hey, this is a pretty strong core, but it's not quite as strong. We'll put an asterisk in the name. It's like strong asterisk core. So yeah, that's kind of the situation with that core, and hopefully we can get that resolved at some point in the near future.
Fair enough. That said, it looks like you did eat up all the time we had left, so that last question is going to have to go unanswered for now. Okay. But yeah.
Yeah, if we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry. You'll have another opportunity. It actually says don't fret here in the script, but I'm going to say don't worry. We will be live again at this same time next week. I think. Yes, we will. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was Mars and Martin. They're the two folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and keep the chat awesome. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game, because without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Bye.
Chat says you should look between the cushions in your couch to find the missing piece.
That's a good idea. For all I know, my daughter probably ate it.
Oh, it's non-toxic, right?
Yeah, the node is non-toxic. The Modron core goop that goes through the pipes, very toxic.